Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Monday, August 9th, and thank you very much for being here for our top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Today, we will start with some updated news from the national stage. We are now learning that the Pentagon will be requiring the COVID-19 vaccine for all troops by September 15th at the latest. We're learning this because of a memo obtained by the Associated Press. Now, that deadline could be pushed up if one of the COVID-19 vaccines gets full FDA approval before September 15th, or if infection rates for COVID-19 across the country continue to rise. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, in the memo to the troops, is quoted saying, "I will seek the president's approval to make the vaccines mandatory no later than mid-September or immediately upon licensure by the Food and Drug Administration, whichever comes first." He also warns the troops to be prepared for the requirement, saying he won't hesitate to act sooner or recommend a different course to the president if he feels the need to do so. Now, this is just a little over a week after President Joe Biden told defense officials they needed to develop a plan to require troops to get the COVID-19 vaccine shot. This is part of a broader campaign to increase vaccinations in the federal workforce. It reflects similar decisions by governments and companies around the world as places around the world are struggling with rising COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations and deaths surging to heights that we have not seen since peaks of the COVID-19 pandemic last winter. Bringing the story back here to Cleveland, local health officials are warning that we're only a couple of weeks away about things getting really bad related to COVID-19 here in Ohio. The Delta variant continues to spread throughout the country, and according to University Hospital's Dr. Amy Edwards, the chaos that we're seeing in the southern part of the country could be here in Ohio in just a matter of weeks. Here's a quote from Dr. Edwards. "We are only 2 or 3 weeks from things getting really bad here in Ohio. This one is bad. It's worse than the last ones, and now is the time to take it seriously." The president of the American Academy of Pediatrics says the U.S. experienced the largest week-over-week percentage increase in pediatric COVID cases since the start of the pandemic, and children's hospitals in Florida and Texas are filling up very quickly with pediatric patients seeking treatment for COVID-19. Dr. Edwards says that we're already starting to see the first trickles in the hospitals in the adult hospitalizations, and the pediatric numbers are going to follow suit, and she says it's going to be awful. There's a new study from the CDC that also found that unvaccinated people are more than twice as likely to be reinfected with COVID-19 compared to people who are fully vaccinated. Dr. Edwards told 3 News, "If you had COVID more than 2 or 3 months ago, you need to get vaccinated. Getting the vaccine can prevent you from getting sick again because some people who had a natural infection are still at risk for getting it again, particularly people over 65 in that age group." Now, as we take a look at what's happening with the Delta variant and COVID-19 across the country, here in Northeast Ohio, we do have an ongoing list of companies that are changing those mask policies. We did see companies list those mask mandates. Well, now we're starting to see those mask mandates come back into play. A lot of places around the country, a lot of places here in Northeast Ohio, we're seeing making masks mandatory for workers and recommended for the public. So if you want to stay up to date on that, make sure you go to WKYC.com. Again, we've got an ongoing list that we are continuously updating about which companies are requiring masks, which are recommending them in the Northeast Ohio area specifically. Speaking of the Northeast Ohio area specifically, politics are really heating up right now, and so I had the opportunity to sit down. I talked with our 3 News main anchor, Russ Mitchell, and also our 3 News investigative reporter, Mark Namick, about the lay of the land when it comes to Cleveland politics. I talked with Russ about the upcoming special election for the 11th Congressional District. That will be to fill the seat left vacant by current Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge. Of course, we know that the primary just happened last week for that position, and we know that the Democrats will be putting Shontel Brown on the ballot and Republicans will have Laverne Gore on the ballot. So I talked with Russ about the lay of the land, where those two fall with their politics, and how much of a change it would be from current HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge, depending on who might get that role, and what we expect and what this means for the broader landscape for Democrats here in Ohio. Then we turn the conversation to the race for Cleveland mayor, because Mayor Frank Jackson, who at the end of his term will have served an unprecedented 16 years as the mayor of Cleveland, he's not running again. And right now there are 7 candidates in the race. Well, that'll be down to 2 when the primary happens on September 14th. So I talked with Mark about all of those candidates. You can find all of that at wkyc.com/3thingsto know, including what you need to know to make sure your voter registration status is up to par before these upcoming elections, and also why Ballotpedia is just a great resource and a good follow on social media and their website in general. So make sure you check that out. Now, you may have heard some rumblings about the United States Postal Service slowing down its delivery, and they are taking steps to finalize that in an effort to save money. That's what they're trying to do here. So they will be offering slower delivery times for some first-class mail. The Postmaster General proposed a plan like this in March, saying that the current first-class letter delivery standard of 1 to 3 days be moved to 1 to 5 days. Well, now the USPS said in a notice published in the Federal Register that about just shy of 2/3, 61% of first-class mail will remain at its current standard, and 70% overall would have a delivery standard of 3 days or less, but they will be slowing down that mail. And one way they're going to do that is they're going to focus more on ground transportation than air transportation. The United States Postal Service is facing an expected $160 billion in losses over the next decade. So that's the reason that they're taking a look at making some of these changes. So they're trying to cut costs and modernize operations as much as possible. Now, under current standards, the Postal Service says it has to rely heavily on air transportation in order to meet those deadlines, which they say is less reliable than ground transportation and costs a lot more. So we will be seeing those changes coming to the United States Postal Service. Now, in a story that will restore your faith or remind you of your faith in humanity, the singer who goes by Nightbird, you may have heard of her on America's Got Talent. She had an incredible audition. She got the golden buzzer through to the next round of the competitions. Well, she realized that she needed to take a step back from the America's Got Talent competition because her health had taken a turn for the worse. She is struggling with cancer right now, so she has bowed out of the competition and created a GoFundMe page. She said she didn't feel entitled to money, but she felt that she needed to ask because she's just in a position where she needs a little bit of help right now. Here's exactly what she said. "It pains me to ask again for money, but I ask as Moses did when he needed water and he spoke to the rock, as the friend banging on his neighbor's door asking for bread in the night, not because I am entitled to your help, but because I desperately need it." She was hoping for $30,000 on that GoFundMe page. Well, as of 2 p.m. today, Monday, August 9th, she has raised over $430,000 as thousands of people have chipped in to help pay for her cancer treatment. And we are wishing her the best. She remains hopeful. She said previously that she's writing her future, not her legacy. She plans on getting through to the other side, but she just needs a little help and needs a little time right now. Somebody who feels like he is not under time pressure is Cleveland Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield, talking about that contract extension that everyone seems to be talking about, especially with Nick Chubb just getting a contract extension in Cleveland. Well, over the weekend, Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, signed a $258 million contract extension. That was on Sunday. So, what does that mean for Baker Mayfield? Well, he likes the sound of it, that's for sure. This is the first in the NFL. This ranks first in the NFL, this contract extension, with guaranteed money at $150 million in total value. And Baker does admit it is a win for all players at the quarterback position. He says, yeah, it's good for the quarterback position. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. But he said he's not focused on a contract extension right now. He's focused on winning in 2021. He said, I am worried about winning right now. I don't know the timeline on it. We've not talked about it because I am worried about winning this season. So that's where his focus is. Now, it's possible that a deal might be something that we're all waiting on, although certainly people will keep talking about it until it happens. But ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said on Sunday that contract talks between the Browns and Mayfield have not heated up yet, and that the team had started discussing a potential contract extension with cornerback Denzel Ward, and it was just a week ago that they signed running back Nick Chubb to a 3-year, $36.6 million extension. Now, Baker Mayfield is under contract with the Browns through the 2022 season. It will definitely be a topic of conversation until that deal gets done. Typically, what we see, according to our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod, who wrote the story on WKYC.com, typically we see these deals happen in the offseason. There's only 5 weeks between now and the start of things kicking off for football, which is very exciting. But you might not think it's exciting if you've been hoping for a Baker Mayfield contract extension in this offseason. So if we don't see it in the next 5 weeks, we might be waiting until the next offseason to see that happen. Here's something that you should not wait to do. If you want to ride the Wicked Twister at Cedar Point, you better get out to Cedar Point, because they did confirm after lots of speculation that they are closing the Wicked Twister roller coaster for good. So the last opportunity to ride the Wicked Twister will be Monday, September 6th. So mark your calendar. That's less than a month away, in case you're counting and doing the math. 3 News asked park spokesperson Tony Clark for any additional information about the ride's closure. What are you doing? What are you making room for? He was very tight-lipped. He did not give us much information. He just said, check out the park's blog, and we are preparing for future park improvements. So, to be determined what exactly it is that they are maybe making room for with the closure of the Wicked Twister. Also in the blog, when this was written, it was 31 days that the ride would still be open. For the next 31 days, we hope you have a chance to be a part of that ridership history and take one last launch on the world's first record-breaking double impulse 5-time LIM motor launching screeching teal and sunburst yellow steel behemoth. Quite the write-up for the Wicked Twister. Park officials also say that the Wicked Twister has given more than 16 million rides since making its debut along the Lake Erie shoreline in 2002. So almost a 20-year run. Not quite, but more than 16 million rides. That's a pretty good run. So if you want to ride the Wicked Twister, again, you better get there between now and September 6th. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Monday, August 9th. I'll see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now.